silly, but it's 5 o'clock.
Okay.
So as soon as the carillon ends, I will gavel us in.
I'm gonna start the webinar.
Please, gentlemen, start.
This meeting is being recorded.
I called the July 22nd, 2024 Bremerton Audit Committee hybrid meeting to order. The meeting is open for the public to attend in person, or you may choose to listen in and view remotely. No action is anticipated. Written comments may be sent anytime to jenny.sims@bremertonlaw.gov or mailed to 345 6th Street, Suite 100, Bremerton, Washington, 98337. I call the meeting to order. Good evening. So the next item is welcoming Rosalind Medina, and we're going to skip that. Okay, here.
I'm gonna promote Rosalind.
She's being promoted, the panelist.
Joining us.
There she is.
Yay!
Hey.
Hello.
Hi.
Thank you. Hello. It's good to see you.
Okay, so we're going to introduce ourselves while we have faces. I am the Audit Committee Chair for this year, Anna Mockler, Council District 6.
Deborah McDaniel, citizen member and vice chair for this year.
Nice to meet you.
And Christine Veneer on staff for the committee.
Christine.
I'm Marwan Cameron, citizen member.
I'm Jenny Sims. I'm the city auditor.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Welcome.
Okay,
Thank you.
we're very, very, very happy to have you in case that isn't clear.
I'm glad to be here.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is item 3, the meeting minutes from 24th June of this year. Anybody have any changes or corrections to the minutes?
I just have a correction to the agenda, which says they were approved as presented. Oh, for
Weird. Is that from the June 24th meeting?
meeting, yeah.
Yeah.
Is that the mistake in the minutes? May? I don't know, but. Thank you. I'm like, how can they be approved as just presenting now?
Perhaps the word processing software anticipated.
I thought maybe somebody was.
Okay, so any further changes or corrections to the minute? Seeing none, the meeting minutes are approved as presented. Next, under item 4, Auditor Sims will provide a brief update on procurement approval compliance review. Take it away, Auditor Sims.
It's very brief. We had hoped that we might have a report for you this meeting, but we are not done. So it'll have to be next meeting.
Okay.
That is brief.
Yeah.
Okay. Work takes as long as it takes. Under item 5.
You know what, Anna, maybe I can just tell Rosalind what I'm working on, just so that she knows. Yeah, that'd be good. That will make it less brief. I'm working on a very narrow focused review, and it's of the procurement of contracts. And in our Bremerton Municipal Code, there's a chapter that requires anything over $100,000, any contract over $100,000 has to be approved by City Council. And so I'm reviewing just that scope, ensuring that contracts over $100,000 were in fact presented to Council for approval. And then I've selected some that are below the threshold just to see if they end up, if they grow to over $100,000, if they then make their way to City Council.
Yeah, thank you. We have the same process at the school district.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Excellent.
Okay, that's it, Anna.
Okay. So, next under item 5, Auditor Sims will provide a brief summary of the 2025-2026 Audit Department budget. I have this, and Auditor Sims has this. Was it included in the most recent email, Christine? Okay. Does anyone have any questions? Marwan, you have a copy of this?
Yes.
Okay. Does anybody have any comments, questions?
So I can briefly comment on it, if you like. Most of the items that are in the audit budget are pretty fixed. There's very little in terms of discretionary expense. You know, there's a handful of dollars for office supplies, a little bit for dues and subscriptions, that's for the AICPA and, ACFE, those types of things, Washington Board of Accountancy, things that I have to keep up my credentials. The rest of it is primarily allocations, other than mine and Christine's salary and benefits. It's allocations from the city for IT and other miscellaneous charges. So, other than office expense, there's really not a lot of discretionary in there.
Auditor Sims perhaps would explain to Rosalind how the salary works. Like
Yeah.
you and Christine.
Rosalind, I'm a part-time employee. I work 24 hours a week. Typically, it's Monday through Wednesday. And then Christine works 8 hours for this department, assisting me with both administrative duties and then also some of the work on the projects, particularly the research. And she works 8 hours, so her other 32 hours, she's a legislative assistant for city council, and so I get 8 of 40 hours charged of her salary to my department.
Excellent, thank you.
Okay.
Out of curiosity, can I ask, like, where are the revenues what revenues generate your salary? Like, is it just a general fund expense, a regular general fund expense, or?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have any comments from the public?
Do not see any hands from the public.
Okay, seeing none, I now go to the committee for the discussion. Does the committee have any proposed changes?
It's good.
Okay, so we have consensus for the auditor to provide this proposed budget finance. Yes? Okay, yeah, cool. All right. Make it so, number one. Next, under item 6, we have other matters, the State Auditor's Office SAO exit conference. I attended this, but I do not have decades of experience in education in auditing, and therefore, Auditor Sims is going to provide a brief summary of the SAO exit conference. But I did want to ask, did everyone receive the 46-page exit conference packet? Okay,
Yes.
please take it away, Auditor Sims.
We acknowledge that this was sent out late today, so if anyone has questions, you can save them for the next meeting, or you can contact me anytime. Basically, Monday through Wednesday is the best time to contact me, and I can answer your questions because you had such late notice. The good news is that the city received an unmodified, or what people sometimes call a clean opinion, on its financial statements and on the city's compliance with requirements for the major federal programs. Although the opinions were clean, there still were some findings, some problems that were identified during the audit. I guess most of the problems that were identified are the result of some staffing issues. The finance department had some turnover and has been kind of overwhelmed, I think, with the workload. The management letter indicated that the city filed its 2022 annual report 129 days late. I've been with the city for 8 years, and it's the first time that I've seen them late, but they did attribute it to the staff turnover. There also were some findings on the internal controls over the financial statement preparation. In that regard, there had been they didn't report a transportation fund as a major fund, even though it qualified as that. And that resulted in some accounts being overstated and some understated. There also were some impact fees that were misclassified. The state auditor's office considered these material weaknesses, but the city is working on correcting the problems that caused these problems. There also was a significant deficiency noted in the audit of the federal awards, and that was in terms of they had issued some sub-recipients some of the award money, and we didn't track all of the data and that we were supposed to with those sub-recipient awardees. There also had been in procurement, there were two sole source findings, just instances where the city inappropriately considered a contract as sole source, and so they didn't put it out for bid, and they didn't support the fact that it was sole source, so that resulted in a minor finding. And then there were some small findings also at the municipal court. Just some documentation hadn't been retained, and a credit card reconciliation wasn't available. So, anyway, most of the findings, well, the state auditor's office did consider the first two as being significant findings. The sole source and municipal court findings were immaterial.
So Jenny, I have a question.
Yes.
Is there anything material to this committee or your work that you feel you need to do to address any of these? Or is it being handled internally by staffing and training? Or is it a combination? Pick one from column A or B.
So what happens is the city responds to the state auditor's office, which our staff is always very cooperative, and they said, you know, we're on it, we're going to fix it. And so when the state auditor's office comes in for the 2023 audit, which is going to start right away, actually, they will do follow-up to see if they have corrected the deficiencies. And then, you know, we can come in at a later point if we want to do our own checking, but I would consider it in most circumstances enough that the state auditor's office is going to come back in and confirm. We do happen to have the sole source issue on our work plan.
Yep.
I don't think it's real far down the line. I don't remember. I think it's after a couple of parking enforcement projects, but I mean, it would be good to, I think, still look at that at a later point, just to see how they're making their decisions, whether to sole source or go out for bid, etc.
Great, you answered my follow-up question, because that seemed like something we could do something about. So good, thanks. Yeah, we don't want to step on any toes in various departments. And if the city says they're fixing it, let's trust them, but verify it somehow.
And I did talk to the finance director because we had a conversation about courts previously. You know, that
a lot of turnover there too.
Right. I mean, I think it's over 100%.
Yeah.
And then there had been some problems too, but when I spoke with the finance director, he indicated that there's been a lot of cleanup over there, and he thinks that it's greatly improved. So we may want to hold off for a while before we go over to do more work. We can ponder that, or we can discuss it, however you want to handle that.
I like it. I mean, I trust the finance director, so I would think if it's being addressed, it's being addressed, but I'm glad to hear sole sources on our radar. Yeah, it's good thing.
Did you have
Really,
any-
if I may, I'm sorry.
Okay, Marwan?
Yeah, I had a few questions. Was the 129 days late? Was that due to the court or another department?
Well, I don't think it was due to court. I believe that it was, I think it was finance. I think that it was, but I can't swear to that. That it might actually be in there, but I don't remember specifically what it said. I'd have to go back and read it. It's a pretty lengthy report, as we said.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to read it before our meeting here. I'll read it in the next week. And in regards to the sole sourcing, do you know how many contracts were awarded under that?
Well, I know that I think it was 2 contracts that were identified that, I don't know how big of a population they reviewed, but I think they identified 2 that had sole source issues. If you give me a second, I can take a look at that.
Well, I can speak to that a bit. Because Public Works, sorry.
No, she's fine.
Okay. Public Works often will have sole source contracts because they're kind of locked in to like only one company makes the parts for a pump grinder, for example. So that will be sole source. This sole source gives me some concern, in part because it took place near a creek and in part because it was $95,000. So, yeah. Anyhow, Jenny, please go on.
Yeah, I think the sole source items are in the 3-page exit item. If you see that in your handout,
The ones that were sent out on Friday?
yes. So it's the first 2 items that are identified. So one is, like Anna said, the creek. I believe that they had done a contract with this consulting firm, and then which I think required their unique expertise, but then they extended for some additional work, and the additional work appears to have been able to have been performed by other consulting firms as well. It didn't have to be this particular consulting firm with their particular expertise. And so the additional work is what should not have been sole sourced. The other one was a purchase of AEDs. I'm not sure exactly what an AED is. Do you know what that is, Anna?
Defibrillator.
Oh, is it? Okay. So they,
Automated external defibrillator.
okay.
Of course.
So they said that it was a sole source supplier, but apparently there are other brands out there that they could have considered. But
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah, got it. Your acronym. Defibrillator.
Jenny, my last question is in regards to the subcontracting. What was the information that wasn't collected?
the subcontracting,
Mm-hmm.
Of recipients, I think.
Subawards, yeah.
oh, okay, well, I have to go to the document. There's like 14 pieces of information. They're supposed to let the subrecipients know that it's federal money so that the subrecipient, I believe, collects these 14 pieces of data. And if you don't let them know that, then they, it might not make it to the file. So let me look to see.
So I think it's on page 23, is that what I'm looking at? The audit found the city's internal controls were ineffective for ensuring the 14 element items.
Yes, that's it.
The UEI, the federal award date. It seems like pretty basic information. That's interesting.
I believe it is pretty basic
Okay.
information.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
But I think that the problem isn't that it was basic information. I think it's the fact that the control wasn't there to make sure that, you know, these are requirements that have to be followed in order to be getting the federal money.
Mm.
So you have to make sure that you're following their rules. So I think that it's not so much that the information doesn't seem significant to me or you. It's what their requirement is. And
Well, when you get to number 5, that does seem pretty significant. Total amount of federal funds obligated.
Yeah. How we addressed it is all on the very last page of the report. It's the city's response, and it's numbers 38 through 42 in the city's response all address that very topic.
Okay, I'm scrolling down there now.
Yeah.
I was trying to keep it at a high level and not go into detail, but
While everybody is
Oh, yeah.
scrolling, I would also like to point out that the period during which the court was looked at by the SAO was 2022, like from January 1st to the end of 22. Yeah, that's all I really wanted to say on that.
I mean, is that pre-Judge Flood?
No, it was her first year.
It was her first year.
Probably
Okay,
the time of greatest turmoil, I think.
gotcha. But at the same time, it wasn't the court that was 129 days late.
No,
Like even with the
absolutely
turnover, that's interesting that the report, although missing some things, was still submitted on time.
not. Look at this.
well, the court rolls up into the city's financial statements. You know, it's all part of it.
Hmm.
And Jenny, you were right. I just scanned the relevant parts there, and it was put down to both lack of personnel and lack of proper training of existing personnel. The reason that our report was so late, I think people were just slammed.
Well,
Certain people left, and then the people that took over didn't know all of the procedures and so forth. So
and didn't get the training.
Yeah.
So.
Anyway,
Are we talking about the general representations on page 42? When, like, here's what we're gonna do about it?
yeah, I mean, I was looking through all of those when I found the last ones were about the subrecipient.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Rosalind, I see you have your hand up.
You had mentioned an audit plan earlier, and that I would love a copy of that. I don't think I have a copy of it. If I do, I'm sorry that I haven't gone through all my emails yet, but that would be great.
Yeah, the work plan.
Work plan, yeah.
Can you send that? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have anything else, Rosalind?
I'll tell you my general thoughts around the SAO audit would be, there's oftentimes these situations where you've got 1 or 2 instances where you haven't complied, and you have complied in 30 other instances, and so they find the 2 that you have messed up on, and they write them in terms that make it feel very, I don't know, serious or significant, and they aren't necessarily good situations. We've had a finding once before on something where we just didn't keep an email of a bid that we did, and so we got an award, we got a audit finding on it, and we kept the emails for I don't know how many other hundreds of awards. So it was just one of those things where you're right, we couldn't find it for this one. So I think in some respects, we make it sound a lot more, they have to justify their roles and they serve a purpose in what we do. But at the same time, you take it with a grain of salt. This is not really the end of the world. As long as when SAO comes back, those deficiencies are corrected, then I think that you can feel confident in the fact that the city is working to correct those things. If you find that you're having additional findings of a similar vein or in, even more severe terms, then I think you've got a bigger issue to start working towards addressing. But at the same time, sorry, go ahead.
Thank you. That was the feeling I got from the SAO team, was that they repeatedly reassured us that it's like, we're using all these terms like material deficiency and significant delinquency, but, really chill.
Yeah.
They use better language than that.
Yeah. I think that you'll find with SAO what I've seen in my time with working with them, is that if there's not a news article about it, it's not likely that significant, even though they've said it.
I agree with that. That these findings are, and I would say if you have 30 others that are correct, it's more like you have hundreds of other transactions that are just perfect, and a few come up that didn't make the grade.
I mean, we always want to be perfect, right? But
And Jenny, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't recall us having repeated violations of similar kinds of things. It's always slightly different every time, right?
Yeah, it's just one-offs, I would say.
Yep. Okay.
That's good news.
Yeah, it is.
And we have a finance director. Our finance director and the assistant are both very dedicated people, and they're both former state auditors. So
that helps.
Well, I have great confidence in them. I don't.
Yeah. Thanks.
Okay, does anybody else have anything more to say? Yeah, go for Christine.
I just had a clarification for the record. So for the June 24th meeting minutes under item 3, in the record, the reference was for the prior meeting, and it is correct. It was the April 22nd meeting minutes were approved as presented. That was listed in those minutes. We had no meeting in May. I'm just saying they're correct. We proved they're correct. It'll be in the record.
Right on. Thank you.
That is magnificent. Thank you for auditing that. Okay. Yay, we passed the SAO exit conference. We have passed the task of discussing it, and there's the process begins again in about a week and a half. Is that right, Jenny?
Well, I know that it's going to start in July, so it has to be any time now.
It's July now, so yeah.
All right. Okay. Moving right along, the next audit committee chair report, that's me. I will tell city council what we talked about here the day after tomorrow. The next meeting will be on Monday, August 26th at 5 p.m. Does this work for everyone? Okay. How many people can come in person for cake and flowers for Rosalind?
I'll be there.
I will make a super attempt.
I will try to be here. I may be doing ballot processing at that time.
Okay, as long as you're not going to Venice again.
No. So I'll try to get here. I'll put it in my calendar, and I can always leave early if I need to.
Okay. We could put the virtual cake up against the screen.
Well, I'll be driving.
Oh, well then.
It's over in Port Orchard, so yeah.
Okay. Something that we typically haven't been doing, but I feel strongly that it just, to welcome Rosalind here. Welcome. This
Thank
is
you.
good of the order. Does anybody have any general comments, questions?
I just want to say how thrilled I am to have somebody who was excited to be on an audit committee. That was such music to my ears. I was like, wow, somebody as nerdy as the rest of it.
I know, welcome, yeah. We're quite a bunch, aren't we?
I can say as staff, I'm thrilled to see a fully seated audit committee and to have all the voices at the table. So welcome
It's been a
aboard.
minute. Christine did the mailing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yay.
Well done, Christine.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else? All right, so, really, the only other question is what kind of cake?
Yeah.
I really like vanilla or carrot or
Like pink
Not a huge
champagne, not
chocolate
so
fan.
much?
yeah,
Not chocolate, yeah, okay.
not a
Okay,
huge chocolate fan. I'll make do with whatever. Whatever's at the
Okay.
grocery store.
okay,
Whatever somebody's making.
we will figure it out. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Well, okay, we made it, we managed to make it last an entire half an hour.
Hey.
Wow.
I'd just like to, on the work plan, in case it's not clear when you receive that, Rosalind, that as soon as Jenny has wrapped up the last bits of the procurement approval compliance review, that the next thing we're working on is Impark, which is making Deborah's heart sing with joy as she has been trying to get this to happen forever.
Many years.
Yeah. And I've been doing some research, and no matter how bad Impark is, there like other arrangements that happened in the past were even.
They were.
Yes, they were.
Yeah,
Yes.
there's a fine line we'll have to walk if the city decides to take it over. And I'm sure Jenny will discover that. But yeah, it's, it was special.
Yeah. I mean, it would be fun to make a movie about a vigilante committee taking over the parking. But I think as a practical matter, that would work very, very poorly. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, the stuff on the work plan is in general priority order. We review it just about every meeting and reprioritize as needed. So if, for example, there'd been a big honking huge finding, we probably would have moved something up or inserted something into the priority list. So.
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
And we are trying to avoid for 2024 any more work projects that involve large databases with multiple duplicates.
God, yes. Please.
Because our auditor really was.
And research staff.
Well, you were dealing with like staff shortages here, so it was just really rough. Anyhow, we're trying to avoid them.
All right, fingers crossed.
Totally crossed. Okay, and now with the official gavel of the July 24th Audit Committee meeting, the meeting is adjourned.